You're listening to The Bold Blueprint with Claire Bartlett. This is the go-to podcast for business owners who are ready to be bold, step into your power and claim the success that you deserve. So whether you're an established business or just starting out, this podcast is your weekly dose of unapologetic inspiration, empowerment, and actionable advice to take your business to the next level. So whether it's the highs, the lows, or everything in between, I'm here to help you build a business that reflects who you truly are. It's time to break the mold and build a business that thrives on your terms. Today's episode is brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of small businesses and a proud sponsor of the Bold Blueprint podcast. Managing your business finances can feel overwhelming, but Xero simplifies it all and gives you the power to keep your books in order and your mind on growth. Xero have amazingly offered a 50% discount off your first 3 months with them. So if you'd like to take advantage of this amazing deal, just follow the link in the show notes. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode. Hello everyone. Today I'm joined by Matt Hughes, the king of video, and he's here to share with us all about the power of YouTube and why we shouldn't be ignoring this as a powerful tool for our business. So Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm very delighted to be here representing the men.
Well, we're very pleased to have you. So do you want to start by telling us how you became the king of video, how you found this journey and what's led you on this path so far?
Yeah, sure. So the truth about the king of video title is that the domain name was available. There is a UFC fighter and an author that are both called Matt Hughes. And so being the sort of doing my research when it came to personal branding, I was like, I'm never going to take a sportsman off of Google. So what can I call myself in order to be, to get to the top of Google? And I tongue-in-cheek sort of put in King of Video. And I asked the group that I was part of at the time, my mentors and everything, and I said, can I call myself the King of Video? And they said, shut up and get on with it. So I did exactly what I was told, and I took that title. Like most kings, they steal the titles, and I've kind of ran with it ever since. But the backstory behind that is I didn't just decide. I didn't take a £5 course and call myself the King of Video. I actually ran a video company for 7 years. We traveled the world making video for tech companies and billion-dollar companies, right through to one-man bands and pretty much anyone that would pay us money to make video. We started that in 2013. So it's been 11 years in video. When I started that company, I'd never made a video before. So it was really a fake it till you make it situation. And now here I am helping businesses with YouTube.
Amazing. So video is one of the most feared areas of marketing for sure. People hate putting their face behind their brand, which is something that I push really hard, actually, that people want to see who's behind the brand. So what made you decide to set up that video business in the first place if you'd never sort of been in that space? And how did that lead into YouTube?
So I set up the company because I was getting married in 2014 and we were looking for a wedding film, and we couldn't find anything that we really liked. And then I asked a friend of mine who had just been doing a media production degree if he'd ever filmed a wedding, and he said, oh yeah, I filmed one this summer, and he sent it to me, and it was like a music video. It was the band Two Door Cinema Club was the track that he used, and it was so fun, it was so exciting. I said to him, I was like, what, this is amazing, what, do you do this for a living or whatever? And he was like, no, I've finished my degree now, I'm just looking for a job in like Tesco or something. And I said, oh, forget about that, let's start a video company. So it really was, at the time I was an IT contractor, so I was earning a good amount of money, I had spare cash, and so I invested around 20 grand in equipment over the next 6 months. We bought all the gear that we needed. He was the trained professional. He didn't last very long in the business. He thought we were going to become millionaires overnight. I'm sure many founders here could understand that situation, but it didn't quite work out like that. So in the end, after about 8 months, I got rid of him, and I employed somebody else, and we continued for the next 7 years. And then in 2018, that guy left. My first employee left, and he started his own business and took all my clients with him. So that was kind of a pivotal period, right? Really, I was like, well, what do I do now? Do I continue in the direction that we are, or do I just wrap it up and do something different? And I carried it on for a little while, but really what I understood that I loved was video and training. They're the two things that I've always enjoyed, training, mentoring, that kind of thing. And so I started doing that with video, Facebook Lives, which, as you said, the fear of video is very real when it comes to Facebook Lives. And then slowly realized that was quite broad. If someone asked for a video person, a videographer, or an editor, or anything like that, I got tagged in all of those things. And I wasn't any of those things, really. I wanted to be the king of video, the mentor, So I decided on YouTube because I couldn't see anyone in my world that was helping people with YouTube. It was a platform that too many people were scared of because they thought they think still, not thought, it's definitely still there, is they think it takes loads of effort and it's something that's way out of reach for them. And actually that couldn't be further from the truth. Actually, you just need to get started. And once you get started, good things happen after that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think I love also that you focused on Facebook Lives in the beginning, because I think that's such a step for people, that real celebration once they've got over that pain point of the very first Facebook Live. But when we talk about YouTube, for instance, I think a lot of business owners don't even consider it as an option for them.
Yeah.
And when I've had conversations recently with people about YouTube, they say, or sort of YouTube, the era of huge success on YouTube is dead. We've passed that. So there's the huge successes on there now. And if you launch anything now, you're never going to see real success. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's your definition of success, right? Like we often, when we talk about success, we look at somebody else, see the success that they have, and they say that must be my definition. And that just couldn't be further from the truth either. Like your success could be getting your first £1,000 as a service provider in your own business. That could be milestone number one, success metric number one. Or it could be getting to your first 100 subscribers on YouTube, or your first 10,000 views. Like, you've got to define what your own success looks like. And it isn't 1 million subscribers. If you aim for 1 million subscribers, I know people say, like, what is it? Shoot for the moon, you'll hit the stars, or whatever it is. I don't know what the phrase is, but like, actually, what about being realistic? What if we said that my first milestone is 100 subscribers and it's to get a sale as a direct result of YouTube? What if we did that? We can do that very quickly and achievably is a new word. It's very achievable. And we're not then focusing on other people's success metrics. Because the thing is, I know loads of creators now, met loads of YouTubers. Not a single creator that I've met is happy with their current position.
Yeah.
And that might be that they've got to 10,000 subscribers and they now want to get to 100, or they might got to 1 million subscribers and they're like, well, I'll give you a great example. A friend of mine is, he's got 1.7 million subscribers. He's done that in 2.5 years. He's one of the speakers at Two Fest, actually. And he makes smoothie videos. So it's like a top down, you're looking at the smoothie, and he's got this expensive smoothie maker that it looks really satisfying as he puts these blends in, it changes color and stuff. So he's got this 1.7 million subscribers, but he doesn't do any long form content. It's all short form content. It's like a minute long, and he's trying to break into now long form content. So his success metric, he's a full-time creator. He's financially free because of his YouTube channel, but he's still got this now. Now I want to do long form. Now I want to do more in that arena. So his success, his metric for success has changed. So really what I'd say to people listening is, like, what is your own definition of success right now? And we're in a great position now. I don't know when this will go out, but we're currently in the stage where we can plan for 2025. And so great opportunity to define your success metrics and see actually what is it that you want to aim for in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true that we get blinded so often by looking at everyone else and what other people have achieved.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's really important to remember is we might be looking at someone, well, they've been working on their YouTube channel for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And we're looking at them from like our day one and saying, God, how are we ever going to achieve that? Well, if we stay consistent for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, we might see the same success. But unless everything is about instant gratification now, isn't it? It's like you said about when you set up your original business, everybody's looking for that quick win, but they don't really exist. It's about consistency and it's about showing up. With YouTube, there's so much conversation about online on social media and how often you're supposed to post. Is there like a specific amount that you should post to YouTube, or is it really just about being consistent in whatever that looks like for you?
I mean, the truth is, the truth is, the more you post, the more views and subscribers you will get. That is a fact. I've seen plenty of people that are, and I know a guy that's a magician who posts every day, and his stats consistently go up. Everything on YouTube, but there's a compounding effect. Unless the views and subscribers are fake, there's generally a compounding effect. So the more you do, the more your channel grows and the quicker it will grow. But posting a video every day would be just completely overwhelming for sure, especially if it's a long form piece of content. So what I start with people in the programs that I run is to just do one video a week. One video a week is usually enough to make consistent progress. If you repurpose that video, you can be quite relentless on the socials, on the other platforms as well. We're often looking at strategies where we add in TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all that kind of stuff that adds value to your overall video marketing strategy. But yeah, it can be as easy and as simple as one video a week. And again, I've got another person who was a speaker at my event last year, and I think she was on 8 to 10,000 by the time she got to TubeFest, which was in May this year. Sorry, not last year, this year. And she's just gone over 100,000 now in November. So that's 6 months. And that really took her 4 years to get to that point. It's just this year has been the year where the compounding interest of everything she's done before, very inconsistently, very non-strategically, it's all come together now, and it's just taken off.
That's amazing. And YouTube, if I'm correct, is quite I was going to say quite an easy platform, but it can be quite profitable just from YouTube itself, can't it? So it can become a really integral income stream for a business.
Yeah, it can be, and from YouTube monetization, but I would still say focus on your off-platform activities. And what I mean by that is you take a viewer, your ideal viewer that comes along and watches your video, and you give them a next logical step. So if they are watching your video all about how to be more productive and you're a productivity coach, you might say, this is how you would set up this one thing. And in my program, I help you do the 8 things that we've got. And so they know subtly you're selling to them that actually I've got a program. And then maybe towards the end or in the middle somewhere you say, oh, if you want to check out that program, the link is in the description. So you're constantly telling people what to do next. You might have lead magnets where you say, oh, if you need the 13 steps to getting started on YouTube, head over to kingofvideo.co.uk and you'll find my 13 steps. And you're just telling people all the time. It's not selling as such. You're giving away your freebies, or maybe you are telling them that you've got a coaching program, but why would you not do that in your video strategically to enable people to take the next logical step with you? Because they're going to like you or trust you. And if they do, then they're going to want to know how they can work with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what we do on all the other platforms, isn't it? There always has to be a hook and a next step and action for them to take. So really, it is exactly the same. It's just a different format of content, isn't it? It's a video instead of...
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of the creators I meet, they don't think like business owners. That's why my event is business owners and creators, because a lot of the time they generate this huge audience because they love and they're passionate about the thing that they're creating videos about. And then they think, oh, how can I make more money from this? Whereas as business owners, we think straight away, like, how do we make money from the thing that we're doing? And we know if we're going to put time and energy into something, it needs to have a return for us. So we automatically start thinking about that. So actually, if you're looking at someone that's got 1 million subscribers and you're like, oh my God, that person's great, they've got so many subscribers, they might not be making a lot of money, and you might be in a much better strategic position with your 500 subscribers because those people are actually buying from you.
Yeah.
It's a massive shift in your perception of what makes a person successful on the platform.
Yeah. And I think we we hang so much on number of followers, don't we?
Yeah.
Everybody looks at that as the level of success or financial stability or, any of those things really. But it really doesn't actually mean, it's a vanity thing, isn't it? The number of followers don't mean anything if none of them are truly engaged.
Yeah, it is a vanity metric, and I understand the phrase vanity metric and why people use it. I like to call it valuable metrics because they do give you an indication of what's working. But it's like
Mhm.
trying to lose weight. If you just focus on how much you weigh, that's not the big story. You look at the numbers, the measurements around your body, right? What inches are coming off as you're losing weight and maybe gaining muscle as well. So actually, the valuable metric of views and subscribers is good combined with all of the other stuff that you should track to make
Um,
sure that your YouTube channel is having an effect. And that one of those metrics is cash in the bank, or leads or sales or sales calls, proposals, all those kind of things that come off the back of gaining all of this attention over here and all these views, and then actually doing something with those views. Otherwise, it is vanity. Then, if you're just doing it for the sake of views and subscribers, then it is vanity. Yes, of course.
no. So let's talk about metrics because I think, again, this is a space that people get really overwhelmed in and they don't really understand. Every platform has, the overview of your account and numbers going up and down and on your view counts and things. But how can we make sure that we're actually getting valuable information from those numbers? Because it can tell you so much,
Yeah.
like you mentioned earlier, about what works and what doesn't. And you can test things out, test the algorithms. But how can you read those numbers so you get some actual value from them?
Well, I mean, it's just paying attention. So Google is a metrics platform. So just like Google itself, you Google owns YouTube. Um, it's looking at where the views and where the views are, who's watching them, how long they're watching the videos for, what the click through rate is from the thumbnails. Like all of these things are measured and they are available to you in the YouTube studio. So in Joey's case, the guy with the smoothies, his name's Joey, and his channel's called Finitas. Joey was the guy that sold the powders he had an e-commerce business. He sold the powders for the smoothie maker. And his whole thing was about selling more powder. He created a YouTube channel to sell more of the stuff. And he thought, maybe if I show people how to create smoothies with it, it would sell more of those things. Mm-hmm. What it turned out as is that the process of making the smoothies was the thing that took off. And what he did there is looked at the metrics and said, okay, I'm doing these videos over here where I talk about powder. I'm doing these videos where I'm showing the mixture, and these ones are taking off. So he paid attention to the metrics. He listened to what the viewers wanted to watch, and he made more of those things. And I think a lot of the time we put all this content out there, but we don't look at like, well, okay, this one took off. Why did this one take off? What can I do that's similar to this one to go into my next one? And you can only do that if you track it on a daily basis, really, and really dig into those metrics.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a good point. Like you say, so often we get stuck in that rhythm of have to create content, have to be, consistent, just get something out, just get something out. And we're not thinking about what our audience actually want, how we can actually add value.
What's the right content?
Exactly. It's purely about just getting something out. And I think that can lose our authenticity and the power of our content because then it becomes really sort of watered down and not focused enough. So you're talking about potentially to start off with just that one video a week.
Yeah.
And that I presume would be best to be long form content.
Yeah. I think like I mentioned with Joey, he started in short form and is now trying to break into long form. It's much harder to do it that way because your audience is so used to you doing short form. Some of the clients that I've worked with, I start them on short form because they are too worried about long form. It's a big amount of effort, and they're not that confident yet. And so I say, okay, what about if we started with 1 minute videos on a daily basis, and then we look to move into long form? So it's not that I say no to short form as well. And there's some clients I work with that are way ahead, and they can produce 2 long form pieces of content and 5 shorts every week. And that's good because they've got a team to enable them to do that. So, whilst I'm saying one long form per week, there is strategies that sit between each end of those things. And it's really dependent on the business that I'm working with and their appetite for growth, and then what their team looks like, all that kind of stuff. So there's no like one ring fits all. It's taking a look at what you can actually commit to, where you could say, well, if I did 1 video a week and I committed to that, and maybe I filmed 4 of them once a month, so I only have to do it once a month, and then I publish the next 4 over that week, over that month. That sounds a little bit more manageable and achievable than perhaps doing a video every day or a video every other day, which feels tough.
Yeah. And I think with anything, the more you do it, actually, the easier it becomes.
Yes.
So just to clarify for everyone who's listening, by the way, a short form is sort of like a reel, isn't it? It's like maybe 60 seconds.
Yeah.
They're really short, easy, digestible content. And then the longer form are sort of 5 minutes and up.
If I say long form, sort of 5 minutes plus,
Yeah.
and the difference is largely that short form is usually considered portrait mode rather than landscape for long form. So there's, even TikTok now allows you to do long form landscape where you turn your phone around. They actually let you do up to 60 minutes now on TikTok. YouTube shorts are now 3 minutes long. They used to be a minute long for a long time. So all the platforms are kind of extending the definitions of what those things are. But there's a broad brush for this that I would say a 1 minute video, portrait mode is short form content, and then 5 to 15 minutes is what I recommend for my long form clients, and that is in landscape mode, so lying down horizontal.
Yeah, it's a good point about the way that you have your phone. But so if we said, like you say, give yourself an hour, schedule out an hour in your diary once a month and create 4 5-minute videos.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you are going to be pressing stop and restarting a million times because you trip over your words, the nerves are there. But soon you'll be able to do that literally in like 25 minutes. You'll just flow with it. And it is just about, and it's the same with absolutely anything. The confidence isn't necessarily there in the beginning because it's new, right? We need to start to feel comfortable in that space. And I also think that's the same for the ideas. So in the beginning, you're like, well, this is what I do. I help people with confidence, for instance. How can I create 5-minute videos every week on confidence? There's only so much I can talk about. But again, I think as you get into the flow of it, the ideas just come to you. And just because you've spoken about one topic previously, you can just tweak it a little bit. It doesn't have to be wildly different every time, does it?
Yeah, and the content from a planning perspective, it's really much more easy than you think. At the start, it sounds more difficult because you've got it's like having a empty piece of paper, and you draw
white
something.
paper
It's like,
syndrome.
what am I gonna draw? So the way I deal with that is a couple of ways. Firstly, I've got a content planner now. I need to put it somewhere for sale. It's like we're going to sell it for like a tenner or something. So in Notion, and it's the content planner that we use, but it's like a table that you put in there, and you add in the titles of the things that you are thinking about, and then there's a bit that says what status is at. So idea is where we start, then we go to be filmed, and then editing, whatever. But I just use that now as my idea dump. And so anytime I think about an idea, I put in the title of what the idea is, and then in the notes section, I'll add in how I felt about it or what inspiration I had from it, because that's super important as well. I might come off a client call and I'm super excited about something, and then 3 weeks later when I go to film it, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking of with this title? This is really weird. So I try to describe it a little bit more in detail. And then so you can do that. And then and what I get my clients to do at first is I say, think about the 10 to 20 questions your clients ask you the most. Because not only are you creating content that your clients want answering, but also it adds value to your business, so that when they ask you those questions that you're so bored of answering over and over again, you can send them to a playlist they'll watch your playlist and they come back to you prepped with all the knowledge and actually a lot of the sales stuff that you would probably need to teach them in order to go and buy from you. So it's authority building, it builds know, like, and trust, it adds value to your business, all of those things just by answering those questions. And if you did 10 to 20, that's almost 6 months worth of content. You don't need to think about generating no ideas if you've got that many ideas already. And then, like you said, Claire, the variations of those things you could do straight away afterwards. You know, one person's confidence issue at one time is different to another client's. They all bring their own baggage and their own experience and all that kind of stuff. And so using your client's stories is how you tell the same story over and over again without saying the same thing. And I've done that today because I talked about Joey, because he's in my mind, because we've just picked him as a speaker. If you asked me 6 months ago or 12 months ago, well, I'd not met Joey, I would have had a different example for you and we would talk about it in a different way. So it's always fresh. Don't assume that your clients or your viewers, are well-versed in what makes your world exist. They're new to you. They want to hear their stories, the same old stories over and over again. And so you can just rinse and repeat them where possible.
Yeah, I love that. And when we're talking about content and creation, you've mentioned earlier about the editing part of it. And again, I think this is a space that people just think, oh, well, I've no idea where to start. Now, I felt like that when I launched the podcast. I'd never edited recordings before. I didn't really know where to start. So I had, went through that nervous, what on earth am I going to do phase then. And I think it's exactly the same for YouTube videos. In the beginning, though, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, does it?
No, and I describe this because it's hard for me to describe it and remember what it was like to be totally new to it. But I talk about it from terrifying. Terrified, yeah. I talk about it from a car point of view because I'm not a car person. There's a man I think stereotypically I'm supposed to be, but I'm not at all. I'm very technical, but not into cars. And so when I open an engine and my bonnet and I've got the engine, it just looks like, I'm like, what the hell is in there? Like, this just looks insane, But over time, then certainly that was when I first started and just like started to drive. I don't know if you remember, if you drive and you remember learning to drive, you have to press the pedals in a certain way and whatever. 20 years later of driving and having experience with cars, like I now drive without thinking about it. It feels natural. I don't have to think about even how I get from A to B anymore. I don't plan it out. If it's my local city, I just know where I'm going and off we go. Can open the bonnet. I know where to put the oil in now. I know where the water needs changing. I know if there's certain noises in my car. I've had experience of bearings going on wheels and all that kind of stuff. Like, you pick all of that stuff up over time of experience. So this is exactly the same with editing. You first start and you're like, okay, how can I just cut that bit out where I went wrong? Okay, I've cut it out. And then you're like, okay, but when I see other people make those cuts, I see like a really fancy transition. And then how do I add that into it? You won't know it's called a transition, maybe even at the start. It's like, what did they do that I think, oh, it's called a transition? And then eventually like, oh, I've got captions and it looks really fancy captions. And then they're doing these little call outs. And then there's some B-roll, some extra footage in there. There's things, green screen on the background. Like, before you know it, you're this expert in editing and you didn't really know you were on the journey. All you did was you were just intrigued and you're starting to learn. So, and it's available to everybody. Like, nobody's like removed from that. I've had people say to me, oh, I'm too old to do this stuff. And it's like, what are you talking about? Whilst your brain is functioning, then you have the capability to be a broadcaster, to be a videographer, to be an editor. I've had a lot of people come into my world from an arts-based podcast that I did. Like 200 artists suddenly followed me on Instagram. And I sat with one of them we do a group call on a Monday for my members. And this artist sat there. She's got a beautiful studio behind her. And we're talking about broadcasting and we're talking about like super technical parts of the broadcasting. And I said to her, I was like, what is happening here? I said, did you know like 5 years ago when you picked up your camera the first time that you were going to be broadcasting a show live to multiple platforms? Like, you just didn't. It wasn't in, and she was talking about OBS and all these extra technical things. It just blew my mind. And she's, with the greatest respect, she's a little bit older than me. And yet she just talked about it like it was nothing, like it was just normal. And it's not normal. It's very technical, a lot of this stuff.
But like you say, you just start. And
Yeah.
one thing that I find quite ironic, actually, talking to you about the topic that we are today, but when I had to learn, one of the main places I went to learn was YouTube.
Yes, of course.
So you can get an answer and a visual answer to absolutely anything. So I use Premiere Pro, I think it's called. Premiere Pro is what I use for
Which is
editing the podcast.
wild, Claire, that you went down the Premiere Pro. That's like the top level.
Yeah,
It's
I don't mess around. I'm like, I need to
yeah,
get
yeah.
the best
Go for the
software
best.
so I can grow with the softwares.
Yeah,
And I probably still only use like a quarter of what that software can do.
yeah,
But it allowed me, and using the videos on YouTube, it allowed me to familiarize myself with the process, start at the basics. And then, like you say, gradually I was like, okay, well, now I can add in the transition. Now I can add in images on top of, or cutscenes. But it's
yeah,
a gradual process. I didn't go into my first video and be like, right, I need to make it like those, like a Mr. Beast video where it's got all of that in it.
yeah.
I just did a video of me talking and cut out the bits where I was umming and ahhing or stumbling on my words. That was what I did in the beginning. I don't even think my first YouTube video has like the screen on it.
Yeah.
The what's the technical term for that?
The screen, what do you mean?
Like the cover
Oh, the thumbnail.
thumbnail.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think I even had one of those in the beginning. And gradually over time I've built up my skills and now it doesn't take me very long to do all of those things. But in the beginning, if I tried to do all of those in one go, I would have probably been there for like 2 hours and then given up on the whole thing. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, the challenge for anyone watching this stuff, and it's not so easy, I think, on TikTok, but if you go on YouTube, you can sort by oldest to newest. And whatever YouTuber you admire that you think, oh my God, that person's got their stuff sorted out, like go and sort from oldest to newest and go and look at their
what's
old
their first
videos,
video?
because that I call it sorting by embarrassing mode, because any creator that watches content they did 6 months ago, let alone 6 years ago, will sit and go, oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah.
Because of course you've made progress, and so you should. Every video should be better. And the way I describe it to my clients is just 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
And just so you know, I asked ChatGPT this. I was like, ChatGPT, if I started at 1%, how long would it take me to get to 10% if I improve by 1% every day? And it says something around 270 days, right? So that's every day 1%. Then from 10 to 20%, it cut down to like 70 days. And
Yeah.
the 20 to 30, it was like 65. So that's what I mean by the compounding interest of everything else. The first 10% is the hardest.
Yeah.
And one of the, I think it's Mr. Beast says, you need to make 200 really bad videos before you make a good one. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think you can get away with doing sort of 30, 40, 50 bad videos, but you may as well get them out of the way whilst no one's watching.
Yeah.
People complain,
I
oh,
love that.
I'm only getting 200, 300 views. Well, good, because your content's crap at the minute. Like, let's get it out of the way. Let's improve, And I'm a lot more diplomatic than that with my clients, Claire will say, but I give them constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But it's true, you've got to get through that. And people spend so much time on their first video. And I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what you do now, it's going to be bad. Let's just do it and get it out there. Because then we've done number one, move on to number two, and that little bit of iterative improvement in a year's time, you just be like, oh my God, how did I even post that first one?
Yeah.
Um,
I love that. And talking about like starting off in those first few videos not being the greatest, what's your advice around technology? Do you need to go out and buy really fancy cameras and microphones, or can you just start off just on your phone?
yeah, you can start on your phone. I know people that do videos on their phone on YouTube and they've got 100,000 subscribers and they don't do anything else. And they film it on their phone, they edit it on their phone, they publish on the phone, 100,000 subscribers. So if you ever needed to know that it's possible, it is. If you want to improve, if you're the kind of person that thinks, oh, I really want a dedicated device and I want it to look professional, the device I recommend at the moment is the Osmo Pocket 3. It comes in a creator kit. If you go to kingofvideo.co.uk/Osmo, the links are there because I've recommended it so many times. But it's just a little device. It's kind of fits in your pocket, hence the name, or your bag, as my wife says, it fits in her little clutch bag. And so you can take it everywhere with you, which means you're always prepared. The creator kit comes with a little microphone, so you've got everything you need, and it's super high quality in comparison to your phone. I even say the camera I'm using now for this podcast is about £2,000. It's I think a £1,200 body and then about an £800 lens, which is my webcam, right? Like, this is my profession, so I have that as my webcam. You probably wouldn't notice a difference now between this and what Claire has. Very similar. Hopefully mine should appear to be a little bit more high quality. But if
you don't know what camera I've got.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but from what I can see on Riverside, but obviously I know Riverside cuts the quality down a little bit. But your mobile phone, so it goes mobile phone, then Osmo Pocket, then some kind of mirrorless camera. And the advice from me is always that all webcams are crap. So don't worry about webcam. But if that's all you've got, then use it. But the chances are your mobile phone's better than your webcam.
Okay. And so the probably the top tip, which you've already given when starting on YouTube, is when you're doing those long forms, is to put your phone sideways, do it landscape. And I think that's a lot of people don't realise that it is different. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your time today. I think there's already been so many things in there to get people to, at least to start thinking about YouTube. But before we sign off, can you just give your absolute top 3 tips of, people have listened to this episode, they're wanting to get started on YouTube. Is there a specific type of video that they should be doing, whether it's outside, at the desk, anything like that, or is it just don't overthink it?
So the top 3 tips then would be to get started. You'll never regret getting started a year from now, but you'll always get a year from now and think, I wish I'd have started sooner. So get started now. Stop listening to this podcast, go and pick up your phone and film an intro video for your YouTube channel and set your intentions. So being intentional with it. Choose the 10-20 questions that people ask you as your first set of videos. That way you've got no excuse. If you don't know what the 10-20 questions are that your clients ask you, you've not been in business long enough. They should come out of you very, very easily. You should be able to just write them down, go and answer all those, go and publish them 1 a week. 6 months later, you'll have a YouTube channel that you're really proud of, or at least you started to become proud of. You start getting views. And then my last tip is, if all else fails, start with a 1-minute short form content on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts, whatever platform you're comfortable with, Reels. Start doing that and do that every day for 28 days. Just get this awkwardness about being on camera, about editing and all of that kind of stuff. If you do it just for a month, and don't worry if you skip a day or two, you're not feeling it, it's the time of the month, there's kids are playing up or whatever it might be, be kind to yourself during that process and just set your intentions to try and do a 1-minute video each day. You do that for a month, you'll smash it after that. Everything just feels easy. And just like you said, Claire, when you started the podcast, it felt weird, technical, and now you sent me a message, I got a Riverside link, I showed up, you're here, you're prepped, you're ready. All of that didn't happen when you first started, but now you're here. It feels easy. Is this season 3? I can see in the title there. So because we're on season 3, season 1 wouldn't have been like this.
No,
here we are now. We know what we're doing. Good.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So I will add some links to Matt's platforms in the show notes for everybody. I'll put the link into that camera that he recommended as well for you guys. But yeah, just thank you so much for your time today, Matt. And listeners, please do consider YouTube as a channel. Maybe that could be the platform that you choose for 2025. And as Matt said, be intentional with it and really start to focus on that. So that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will speak to you all next week. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode, which was brought to you by Xero Accounting Software, a champion of small businesses and a proud sponsor of the Bold Blueprint podcast. If you're running a small business and you are dreaming big, then Xero is here to help make those dreams a reality. Xero is all about supporting entrepreneurs just like you, who are not just running businesses but are also changing the game. So, whether you're just starting out or you're scaling up, join a global community of small businesses who trust Xero to manage their finances efficiently.